Thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today I want to talk about the inflated value of the ACC. Maybe I should say the overinflated value. This is what a lot of people come at me with. The ACC is so valuable, so much more valuable than the Big 12. First off, and I think, one of the most important things is viewership. I can tell you right now, the Big 12 last year had about 6 teams that averaged over 1 million viewers per week on every game, and the ACC only had 3, half as many. And the depth as far as viewership was definitely also on the Big 12 side, because after you got past like the top 4 or 5 ACC teams, the viewership just craters. With the Big 12, it slowly declines. It doesn't just crater. Now, here's an excuse a lot of people throw at me. Well, we get all these games on the ACC network. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought the ACC network was all this, why you're so much better than the Big 12. And now you're telling me you're blaming that for your lower viewership totals? Bullshit. I use median. And what they do is they take an average of every recorded rating for every game. That's why I like it. In other words, if you're a team, all right, and 7 of your games are played on the ACC network and only 5 are shown on linear platforms that record the ratings, then you have a smaller sample, and out of a smaller sample, you should get a larger average. Because, and follow me here, if you're Wake Forest, you're Boston College, we're probably talking about those kind of schools. The only way you're getting on a linear product is when you're facing a better quality of competition that brings ratings, right? Because they don't want Clemson on the ACC network. They don't want Miami or Florida State. So if you're playing one of those, chances are you'll be on a linear network, even if it's ESPN2 or ESPN The Ocho, whatever it is. That's where you're going to be. And you can have a rated game. So if you're only the biggest competition that you have a record of, then that'll help your average because it's a smaller sample. So if we had rated games for all 12, including BS group of 5 schools you played or FCS schools that you played, and if we had Wake Forest versus Boston College, that rating would probably suck, right? Wake Forest versus Boston College, it's probably a small, crappy single game rating that would just drag your average down, would it not? So really the ACC network helps cut off those bad averages and gives you the best possible average. That's the way I see it. Maybe I have it wrong a little bit, okay, but it's still a smaller average. Now you take Big 12 schools who all their stuff is rated unless it's just, well, I don't tell you the truth, I don't know if ESPN Plus gives out a rating or not. But I would say on average, Big 12 schools get way more exposure on ESPN, on Fox, and all the channels at the FS1, ESPN2, also on WBD. So we have more exposure, we have more rated games. And that includes when you're going against a smaller competition with smaller ratings, someone like Cincinnati or UCF or Houston. So what's the bitching and moaning about? And look, when you're playing night games or Friday night games, or you're playing on ESPN2 or FS1 or FS2, you're playing on ESPN2 or ESPNU, you're playing on small, even though they're linear, but they have smaller footprints. All of those, the time slots, the days you play, and on the smaller networks that you play on for the Big 12, that limits your viewership. That should hurt your averages more. You see what I'm saying? It should hurt your averages more. But it doesn't. I mean, maybe it does in some respects, but it's still way more than the ACC. So that's not an excuse for ACC viewership suckage. Then there's the money breakdown. You got ACC people that like to brag they make more money than the Big 12. That's because you still have Florida State, Clemson, and Miami. How they boost your numbers on the ACC network, for example. Because just off your media rights, just based on media rights alone, you make less money than the Big 12. You don't make $31.7 million per team just off media rights. You don't. However, with the ACC network, that brings you to a higher money total than the Big 12 gets. Congratulations. But without Florida State, without Clemson, without Miami, you're going to be hurting on that end. That money from the ACC network you enjoy now goes down dramatically. Right now, the ACC gets $13 million per team out of the CFP. The Big 12 gets 12. That's $1 more million per team. Without those three, what do you think that look-in from the CFP will do to your payout from the playoff? You're going to lose that advantage. You may even make you may even make less per school than the Big 12 does out of the CFP without Florida State, without Miami, and without Clemson. And that's what you're facing. The success of that conference, of the ACC, the prestige of the conference is largely based on the exploits of Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and I should say on a lower level, but it does help with the prestige of that conference, the athletic prestige of the conference, with the Duke UNC basketball rivalry. But it's basketball, so it's on a lower level than those three programs at the top. So overall, without those big brands, nobody from the Big 12 will be going to the ACC like some people like to think. The Pac-12 thought this too. Oh, we'll pull Big 12 teams out. Oh yeah, we'll get you. They couldn't even get a TV deal. Now the ACC does have a TV deal. They're locked in. They locked into 2036. But a good chunk of that is ACC network money. That is not a given. That's not a guarantee same amount every year. Your media rights deal is, which like I said, substantially lower than the Big 12 media deal is. You rely on that network. And without your big brands, that gets slashed, that money. Your CFP money gets slashed. And let's not even talk about corporate sponsorships for the conference. All of that also gets slashed. So where does that leave you? Can you attract a West Virginia who's had hell to deal with on travel? Could you attract them to come over? I doubt it. Because at that point, you're going to be making less money than the Big 12. Why would anybody go to your conference for less money? You say, oh, well, no one knows what's going to happen with you. Your TV deal comes up in 2031. That's not a threat. That's a good deal for the Big 12. Now we can capitalize. The same time the SEC and the Big 10 are negotiating and getting their next media deals, the Big 12 will also be in there getting theirs. But not based off of 8 schools or 12 schools, but on 16 schools. See, our last media deal had nothing to do with Colorado, had nothing to do with Utah or the Arizona schools. Now we can calculate that value in with what we have. Folks, you're in trouble. You've been in trouble. Everybody around you knows you're in trouble. The media doesn't want to believe it. Because they want to believe the hype and believe the prestige. Oh, this ACC conference has been around for blah. The truth is the business of sports, of college sports, doesn't give a randy shit how long the ACC's been around. It's about business. The Pac-12 had been around for over 100 years. Whoa, gone. Without those big brands. And I know there's a lot of people push back. Oh, the SEC and the Big Ten don't want them. With no proof of that. Zero proof of that. Why are people pushing that? Because they don't want to see the ACC die. They don't want to see another Pac-12 situation happen. They can't bear it. How can this sorry-ass Big 12 survive and thrive when these prestigious conferences just fall apart and get liquidated? Sometimes you're worth more dead than alive. That's what the Pac found out. And the Pac had better viewership than the ACC. Yeah, better football brands overall than the ACC. More successful. It wasn't just USC. It was Utah. It was Oregon. It was Washington. Hell, Oregon State and Washington State were pretty damn respectable football brands during that era. A lot more depth there than there is in the current ACC. Like it or not. Essentially, the people who want to believe that these big brands have no place to go. The people who want to believe that, most of these guys are elitists. They can't fathom a tier 2 conference surviving over the ACC. But really, without those big brands, the ACC is just another tier 2 conference, isn't there? Yeah, it is. Do you really need 2 tier 2 conferences? That's the question. Does ESPN value 2 tier 2 conferences? 2 tier 1s? Oh yeah, all day. But do you need 2 tier 2? One or two things is going to happen. Either the Big 12 gets a new media deal, which will put them well over what all the ACC leftovers make together on that 2036 deal. And then who is it worth it to buy their way out of that at a reduced cost and come to the Big 12 for more money? Because it just makes too much sense. Or is it worth it for the Big 12 to merge? And look, this is, for me, this has been more of an olive branch. This is me being charitable to the ACC, saying, yeah, there's value there. There's even value with Boston College and Wake Forest. Let's merge. To the chagrin of a lot of Big 12 fans. But I think there's a lot of value in having all of that content, that tier 2 content. A lot of value that you could pull out of from multiple different media partners, streaming partners. But of course, there's a lot of ACC people that are too arrogant to see that. Oh, no. That's not what's going to happen to us. It can't happen to us. That's exactly what I heard from the Pac-12 people. Everything you are regurgitating, this is nothing new for me or for any other Big 12 channel or Big 12 fan. We've heard all the same bullshit before. I've heard some ACC people say, well, hold on. The ACC is not overvaluing itself. Oh, yeah, it is. If it is not on Brett Yormark's jock when it comes to merger, then yeah, they're overvaluing themselves. Like I said, without those big brands, you're screwed. If you're not screwed in 2031, you will be screwed in 2036 because no one's going to overpay for you. You don't have the value. You don't have the viewership. You got the academics, that's great, but no one's paying you outside of the federal government or some big mega corporation to do research. Nobody, not ESPN, not Fox, not anybody else is going to pay you for your academics. Sorry, ain't happening. It's not what this business model is about. It's about viewership. It's about advertisers. It's about money. So you got to get in where you fit in. Don't give me, well, we're not a good fit in the Big 12. You're a good fit for whatever gives you the max amount of money to compete. There may be some schools that think just like some of these foolish ACC fans. Those schools will be left behind. Those will be the Oregon States and the Washington States rebuilding the ACC into whatever G7 conference it's going to be. If that's even a possibility at the time. So, don't say you haven't been warned. You have been overvaluing what you are. It's a very delicate balance. You need to be very, very self-aware of what the ACC really is. It's something that can break apart like a son of a bitch. This isn't a collection of schools that have been together for over 100 years. Louisville hadn't been there for over 100 years. Miami hadn't been there for over 100 years. There's a whole laundry list of teams that used to be Big East teams or elsewhere. The ACC doesn't have the history and the prestige like you think it does. It doesn't. It doesn't. You're going to F around and find out. And for the Big 12 fans, we're just kicking back. We're kicking back because we know we're getting some of your programs. We know we're going to get some of your teams. Louisville, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Pitt, maybe Syracuse. Who knows? Who knows? You better hope it's merger. So without that, there's going to be several programs of the ACC that are just going to be out. Sorry, out. No longer power schools. No longer autonomous conference members. And that's the truth. So, suck on that, slap nuts. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.